The Nubian perfume gardens. Close your eyes and let your breathing slow. Feel the warm desert air beginning to cool as evening approaches along the banks of the ancient Nile. We journey now to the land of Kush, to the perfume gardens of Nubia, where the art of fragrance was born from the marriage of earth and heaven. Let each word carry you deeper into this aromatic paradise of long ago. Chapter 1. Dawn in the Garden of Scents. The first light of dawn creeps across the Nubian desert like honey poured slowly over golden sand. You find yourself floating gently above the ancient kingdom of Kush in the year 1500 BCE, where the morning air carries whispers of frankincense and myrrh. Below, the sacred perfume gardens of Kerma stretch along the fertile banks of the Nile, their terraced beds rising like steps toward the heavens. As you descend like a soft morning breeze, you observe the garden beginning to stir with the quiet rituals of dawn. The air is still cool from the desert night, perfect for the delicate work that will begin with the sun's first rays. Dew clings to the leaves of acacia trees, each drop holding the promise of the day's aromatic treasures. Chemwaset, the master perfumer, emerges from his simple mud-brick dwelling at the garden's heart. His movements are unhurried, reverent, as if he understands that the creation of divine fragrance cannot be rushed. The soft leather of his sandals makes no sound on the packed earth paths that wind between the garden beds. In his weathered hands, he carries a bronze vessel for collecting the precious resins that will form the foundation of the day's work. The garden itself is a miracle of careful cultivation in the harsh desert climate. Channels of Nile water flow in gentle streams between raised beds, their soft babbling creating a constant, soothing soundtrack to the garden's daily rhythms. Date palms provide shade for more delicate plants, their fronds rustling in the morning breeze with a sound like whispered prayers. You follow Chemwaset as he approaches the first frankincense tree, its ancient trunk scarred by years of careful harvesting. The tree stands like a wise elder, its branches reaching toward the lightening sky in a gesture of eternal offering. Here, the perfumer will gather the tears of resin that have wept from the bark during the cool night hours. The morning light catches the golden drops of frankincense, making them glow like captured sunlight. Chemwaset's knife moves with practiced precision as he gently scrapes the hardened resin from the bark. The sound is barely audible, a soft scratching that blends with the whisper of wind through the tree's leaves. Each piece of resin that falls into his bronze vessel carries with it the concentrated essence of desert sun and Nile moisture, of time and patience, and the sacred act of giving. As the sun climbs higher, painting the eastern sky in shades of rose and gold, other workers begin to arrive in the garden. They move with the same unhurried reverence as their master, understanding that their work is both craft and ceremony, both livelihood and sacred duty. The soft murmur of their greetings floats on the warming air, voices kept low in respect for the garden's tranquil atmosphere. Breathe deeply now, and let the aromatic morning air of ancient Nubia fill your lungs. Feel the peace that comes from work begun with reverence and patience. Chapter 2: The Sacred Harvest. The sun has fully risen now, casting long shadows across the terraced garden beds. The air begins to warm, but the morning is still perfect for the delicate work of resin collection. You float among the workers like a gentle spirit, observing their ancient techniques passed down through generations of perfume makers. Nubia, the master's daughter, tends to a grove of myrrh trees near the garden center. Her movements are as graceful as a dancer's, each step placed with careful consideration. She wears a simple linen tunic that allows her to move freely among the thorny branches, and her dark hair is braided with small golden beads that catch the light as she works. The myrrh trees are smaller than the frankincense, but their resin is equally precious. The bark appears wounded where cuts have been made, but these are healing wounds, given freely in exchange for careful tending. Nubia's knife moves with surgical precision as she makes fresh cuts in the bark, each incision placed to encourage the flow of resin without harming the tree's vital systems. The fragrance that rises from the fresh cuts is intoxicating, but not overwhelming, a complex scent that speaks of desert winds and ancient wisdom. The resin that will weep from these cuts will not be ready for several days, but Nubia harvests yesterday's gifts with gentle hands. Each hardened drop is examined carefully, sorted by size and quality, then placed in woven baskets lined with soft cloth. Meanwhile, in another section of the garden, young apprentices tend to beds of aromatic herbs and flowers. Coriander grows in neat rows, its seeds beginning to ripen in the morning sun. The sound of their work is rhythmic and soothing, the soft rustle of leaves being examined, the whisper of seeds being collected, the gentle thud of full baskets being set down on the earth. A group of women work among the henna plants, their laughter soft and musical as they share stories while they harvest. The henna leaves must be picked at just the right moment, when their color is most intense and their aromatic oils are at their peak. The women's hands move quickly but carefully, selecting only the perfect leaves and placing them in shallow baskets where they will dry in the shade. The sound of water is constant throughout the garden, not just the irrigation channels, but the soft splash of workers rinsing their hands and tools in stone basins placed at convenient intervals. The water is cool and clear, drawn fresh from the Nile each morning and carried to the garden in large ceramic jars, balanced gracefully on the heads of young water carriers. As the morning progresses, you observe the careful sorting and preparation of the harvested materials. Each resin drop is examined for clarity and purity. The finest pieces, golden and translucent, will be reserved for the most sacred perfumes. Lesser grades will be used for daily incense or trade goods. Nothing is wasted. Even the smallest fragments have their purpose in the perfumer's art. Feel the rhythm of ancient harvest work. Let the careful sorting and examining of aromatic treasures slow your thoughts and deepen your breathing. Chapter 3. The Preparation Chamber. As the sun climbs toward its zenith, the outdoor harvest work gives way to the more delicate indoor preparations. You follow Kemwaset and his assistants into the preparation chamber, a cool, shadowed room built into the side of a small hill to maintain constant temperature. The thick mud brick walls keep out the heat of the day, creating a haven of coolness perfect for the sensitive work of perfume preparation. The chamber is illuminated by oil lamps placed in niches carved into the walls. Their flames burn steadily, casting a warm, golden light that dances across the various tools and implements of the perfumer's trade. The air inside is thick with accumulated fragrances. Years of work have permeated the very walls with the essence of countless aromatic treasures. Stone mortar of various sizes line wooden shelves along one wall, each worn smooth by generations of use. Bronze sieves hang from wooden pegs, their mesh so fine it seems almost like fabric. Clay vessels of different shapes and sizes contain oils, waters, and other materials needed for the delicate process of creating perfumed compounds. Kemwaset begins the morning's preparation work by lighting a small brazier filled with specially prepared charcoal. The charcoal burns clean and hot with almost no smoke, essential for the precise work of resin processing. As the coals begin to glow, he places a shallow bronze pan above them, its bottom already darkened by years of use. The first task is to test the quality of the previous day's resin harvest. Using bronze tweezers, the master perfumer places a small piece of frankincense on the heated pan. The resin begins to melt immediately, releasing a thin stream of aromatic smoke. Kemwaset closes his eyes and inhales deeply, his face serene with concentration. His trained nose can detect the subtlest variations in quality, the presence of moisture, the degree of oxidation, the purity of the resin. Satisfied with the quality, he nods to his assistant, who carefully weighs out precise amounts of the different resins using a balance scale so sensitive it can detect the weight of a grain of sand. The bronze weights are worn smooth by countless transactions, each one calibrated with mathematical precision. The sound of the scale settling into balance is barely audible, a tiny chime that speaks of accuracy and fairness. Nebet works at a separate table, grinding dried herbs with a stone pestle in a granite mortar. The herbs have been dried in the garden's drying house, a structure with walls of loosely woven reeds that allow air to circulate while keeping out dust and insects. The sound of her grinding is rhythmic and hypnotic, a gentle crushing that releases the concentrated essence of each plant. The herbs she grinds today include coriander seeds, their warm, citrusy fragrance filling the air around her workspace. Next come dried rose petals, gathered from bushes that grow in the garden's most protected corner. The petals crumble to powder under her pestle, releasing a scent so intense it seems to carry the essence of every summer that has ever been. As she works, Nebat hums a traditional song, a melody her grandmother taught her, passed down through generations of perfume makers. The tune is simple and repetitive, perfectly suited to the rhythm of her grinding. The other workers join in softly, their voices blending in harmony as ancient as the craft itself. Let the rhythmic grinding and gentle humming carry you deeper into tranquility. Feel the concentrated essence of countless flowers and herbs surrounding you with their peaceful presence. Chapter 4. The art of blending. The afternoon heat outside makes the cool preparation chamber a sanctuary of comfort and focused work. As you observe the ancient perfumers at their craft, time seems to slow and blur, measured not by the passage of hours, but by the careful, deliberate movements of skilled hands, creating something beautiful and meaningful. The chemisette approaches the central workbench where the day's most important work will take place, the creation of a new perfume blend for the Temple of Ammon. This is not mere craftsmanship, but sacred art, requiring not only technical skill, but spiritual sensitivity. The perfume will be used in religious ceremonies, carrying the prayers of the faithful upward on fragrant smoke. The master perfumer begins by laying out his ingredients in careful order. Frankincense and myrrh form the foundation, the bass notes, as it were, of his aromatic symphony. These precious resins have been sorted and graded, with only the finest pieces selected for this sacred work. Each drop of resin is examined one final time, held up to the lamplight to check for clarity and purity. Next come the middle notes, dried flowers and herbs that will give the blend its character and complexity. Rose petals ground to the finest powder, coriander seeds crushed to release their warm essence, and dried jasmine flowers that were picked by moonlight when their fragrance was most intense. Each ingredient is measured with mathematical precision, using scales so sensitive they can detect the weight of a single flower petal. The high notes will come from aromatic oils, precious essences extracted from flowers and herbs through careful distillation. These oils are stored in tiny glass vials, each one sealed with beeswax to preserve their volatile compounds. When opened, each vial releases a burst of concentrated fragrance that seems to contain the very soul of the plant from which it came. The blending process begins with meditation. Kamwaset closes his eyes and centers himself, his breathing slow and deep. In this state of calm awareness, he can sense the subtle relationships between different aromatics, understanding how they will interact and complement each other. This is knowledge that cannot be learned from books or taught in words. It comes only through years of patient practice and deep sensitivity to the language of scent. Using a small bronze spatula, he begins to combine the ingredients. First, a precise amount of frankincense powder is placed in a marble mortar. The marble is cool to the touch, its surface polished to mirror smoothness by generations of use. To this foundation, he adds measured amounts of the other materials, each addition carefully considered and precisely executed. The grinding begins slowly, with gentle circular motions that barely disturb the ingredients. The pestle moves like a prayer wheel, its motion hypnotic and meditative. As the materials begin to blend, their individual fragrances merge and transform, creating something entirely new, a scent that is greater than the sum of its parts. Nebit assists by adding tiny drops of aromatic oils at precisely the right moments. Each drop is measured and dispensed using a bronze needle so fine it can control the flow to individual droplets. The oils are absorbed into the powder blend, carrying their essence deep into the mixture, while adding moisture that will help bind the ingredients together. The sound of the blending is almost musical, the gentle scraping of pestle against marble, the soft rustle of powders being incorporated, the barely audible sizzle as oils meet dry ingredients. Other workers in the chamber continue their own tasks, but all work is done in respectful, quiet understanding that they are witnessing the creation of something sacred. Feel the meditative rhythm of the blending process. Let the careful, precise movements of the master perfumer slow your own breathing and bring deep peace to your mind. Chapter 5. The Sacred Smoke. As the afternoon shadows lengthen, the blending reaches its crucial final stage. The perfume mixture has been worked for hours, each ingredient fully integrated with the others. The powder has taken on a rich, complex color, golden brown with hints of deep amber, like the desert sand at sunset. The fragrance that rises from the mortar is intoxicating but balanced. Kamwaset lifts a small portion of the blend on his bronze spatula and examines it in the lamplight. The powder has the perfect consistency, fine enough to burn cleanly, but not so fine that it will blow away in the slightest breeze. A subtle smile crosses his weathered features. The blend has achieved the perfect balance he sought. The time has come for the sacred test. In the corner of the preparation chamber stands a small altar dedicated to Isis, goddess of magic and healing. The altar is simple but beautiful, a slab of polished granite supported by carved wooden legs. Upon it rest a bronze brazier, a supply of specially prepared charcoal, and a small golden dish for holding the perfume mixture. The brazier is lit with ceremony and reverence. Chemouset uses a wooden fire stick to kindle a small flame, which he carefully transfers to the prepared charcoal. The coals begin to glow with a clean, steady heat, producing almost no smoke, perfect for the delicate work of perfume testing. The master perfumer takes a small pinch of the completed blend and places it in the golden dish. He holds his hands over the mixture for a moment in silent prayer, then gently sprinkles it over the glowing coals. The response is immediate and magical. A thin stream of aromatic smoke rises from the brazier, carrying with it the concentrated essence of all the ingredients. The smoke is pale and nearly translucent, rising in a steady column that wavers only slightly in the still air of the chamber. As it reaches the ceiling, it spreads and dissipates, carrying its fragrance throughout the room. The scent is complex and layered. The deep, resinous bass notes of frankincense and myrrh, the floral middle notes of rose and jasmine, and the bright, citrusy top notes of coriander, all clearly present yet perfectly integrated. Everyone in the chamber pauses in their work to experience this moment. The apprentices stop their grinding and sorting. The assistants cease their measuring and weighing. In the profound silence that follows, only the soft crackle of burning charcoal and the almost inaudible hiss of the perfume powder as it burns can be heard. Nebet approaches the altar and breathes deeply of the sacred smoke. Her eyes close in appreciation, and she nods slowly. The blend has achieved its purpose. This is perfume worthy of the gods, a fragrance that will carry the prayers of the faithful upward to the heavens on wings of aromatic smoke. The testing continues with small adjustments and refinements. A tiny amount of additional rose powder is added to brighten the middle notes. A few more drops of jasmine oil are incorporated to enhance the floral character. Each modification is tested on the sacred fire, the perfumer's trained senses evaluating every subtle change in the fragrance profile. As the sun begins to set, painting the western sky in shades of gold and crimson, the sacred perfume is finally complete. The master perfumer carefully transfers the finished blend to a sealed ceramic jar, its surface decorated with hieroglyphs identifying the contents and the date of creation. The jar is wrapped in soft linen and placed in a wooden box lined with precious cedar, protection for the sacred substance it contains. Let the sacred smoke carry your thoughts upward like ancient prayers. Feel the deep satisfaction that comes from patient work brought to perfect completion. Chapter 6. Evening Rituals in the Garden as Twilight Approaches, painting the desert sky in shades of deep purple and gold. The work in the preparation chamber draws to a close. The sacred perfume has been completed and sealed, ready for its journey to the Temple of Ammon, where it will be used in tomorrow's ceremonies. The tools are cleaned and put away with the same reverence that marked their use. Each implement carefully maintained for future service. You float out of the cool chamber and back into the garden, where the evening's gentler work begins. The harsh heat of the afternoon has given way to the soft warmth of desert twilight, perfect for tasks that require delicate handling. The irrigation channels continue their soft babbling, but the sound seems more musical now, like a lullaby sung by the garden itself. Kemwaset makes his evening rounds through the garden beds, checking on the health of his precious plants. The frankincense and myrrh trees that were cut this morning are examined carefully, their wounds already beginning to weep the golden tears that will be tomorrow's harvest. The cuts are clean and healing well, showing no signs of infection or damage. The herb beds receive their evening watering, the water applied with careful precision to avoid wasting a single drop. Desert cultivation requires constant attention to water management. Too little and the plants will wither. Too much and the precious liquid will be lost to evaporation or runoff. The sound of water being poured from clay vessels into the irrigation channels is soft and rhythmic, like rain on parched earth. Nebat tends to the drying houses where today's harvest is being prepared for future use. The structures are simple but ingenious. Reed walls that allow air circulation while protecting the contents from dust and insects. Inside, herbs and flowers are spread on woven mats, turning slowly in the dry desert air that will preserve them perfectly for months to come. The evening air carries a symphony of gentle sounds, the rustle of date, palm fronds in the cooling breeze, the distant call of ibis, birds returning to their roosts along the Nile, the soft conversation of workers completing their daily tasks, the harsh sounds of the desert day, the buzz of insects, the cry of hawks have given way to the gentler rhythms of evening. As darkness begins to fall, oil lamps are lit throughout the garden. The flames flicker in the evening breeze, casting dancing shadows on the walls of the buildings and the faces of the workers. The warm light creates pools of illumination connected by paths of soft darkness, giving the entire garden a dreamlike quality. The evening meal is prepared and shared in the communal courtyard at the garden's heart. The food is simple but nourishing. Bread baked fresh in clay ovens, dates and figs from the garden's own trees, fish from the Nile prepared with herbs grown in the aromatic beds. The conversation is quiet and companionable, voices kept low in respect for the garden's peaceful atmosphere. After the meal, the workers gather for the evening's educational session. This is when knowledge is passed from master to apprentice, when the secrets of the perfumer's art are shared and preserved. Chemoisette speaks of the properties of different resins, how to identify quality by sight and smell, the proper techniques for harvesting and preparation. His voice has the rhythm of ancient teaching, patient and clear. The apprentices listen with rapt attention, their young faces serious in the lamplight. They understand that they are receiving more than technical knowledge. They are being initiated into an ancient tradition. Feel the gentle rhythm of evening in the ancient garden. Let the soft sounds of water and wind, the warm glow of oil lamps, and the wisdom of ancient teaching carry you toward peaceful rest. Chapter 7. The Night Garden's Secrets. As full darkness settles over the Nubian desert, the perfume garden transforms into a place of mystery and magic. The harsh clarity of daylight gives way to the soft ambiguity of shadows and flickering lamplight. This is when the garden reveals its secret nature, not just as a place of commercial cultivation, but as a sanctuary where the boundary between earth and heaven becomes permeable. The night air carries fragrances that are hidden during the day. Jasmine flowers that remained tightly closed in the harsh sun begin to open, releasing their intoxicating perfume into the cooling air. Night blooming cereus unfolds its spectacular white petals for one precious night, filling the darkness with a fragrance so intense it seems almost visible. These are the secret ingredients that make Nubian perfumes legendary throughout the ancient world. Chemoisette moves through the garden paths with a bronze lamp in his hand, its flame protected by a pierced metal cover that creates patterns of light and shadow on the ground before him. This is his nightly pilgrimage, a ritual of checking and tending that has become as much spiritual practice as agricultural necessity. His feet know every stone and turning of the paths, allowing him to move with confidence through the scented darkness. At the heart of the garden stands the most sacred of all the plantings, a small grove of trees that were not planted by human hands, but grew naturally from seeds, carried by desert winds and blessed by the gods themselves. These trees are tended but never harvested, their role purely spiritual. It is said that the smoke of their resin can carry messages directly to the realm of the gods. Tonight, something special draws the master perfumer to this sacred grove. The trees seem to glow with their own inner light, their ancient bark gleaming in the starlight. A soft breeze stirs their leaves, creating a whispered conversation in a language older than human words. Chemoisette approaches with reverence, his lamp held high to illuminate the scene. One of the ancient trees bears a gift, a large, perfect tear of resin that has formed naturally over many months. Such gifts are rare and precious, considered by the perfumers to be direct offerings from the gods. The resin glows like a captured star, its golden surface reflecting the lamplight with an inner fire that seems to pulse with life. Using a special bronze knife reserved for sacred purposes, Kamwaset carefully harvests this divine gift. The blade is so sharp it cuts through the hardened resin like butter, and the piece that falls into his palm seems to radiate warmth and light. This resin will be saved for the most sacred of purposes, perhaps to anoint a new pharaoh or to honor a great victory. As he works, the night garden around him pulses with hidden life. Bats flutter overhead, their echolocation calls barely audible as they hunt for insects. Night-blooming flowers continue to open, their fragrances creating layers of scent that shift and change with the evening breeze. The sound of the irrigation channels seems more musical in the darkness, like a gentle song being hummed by the earth itself. The apprentices have retired to their sleeping quarters, simple mud brick rooms built around the garden's perimeter. But the senior workers remain active, taking advantage of the cool night air to perform tasks that would be impossible in the heat of day. They move like ghosts through the garden paths, their oil lamps creating moving points of light in the darkness. Nebat works by lamplight in the distillation house, tending to the delicate process of extracting essential oils from flower petals. The apparatus is an ingenious combination of clay vessels and bronze tubes, designed to capture and condense the aromatic vapors that rise from heated plant materials. The process requires constant attention through the night, as the temperature must be maintained at precisely the right level to avoid destroying the delicate aromatic compounds. The sound of the distillation is hypnotic. The gentle bubbling of heated water, the soft hiss of steam passing through the apparatus, the occasional drip of precious oil being collected drop by drop. The air around the distillation house is thick with floral fragrances, so intense they seem almost solid. Workers wear cloth masks over their noses and mouths, not to filter out the scents, but to prevent the overwhelming fragrances from causing dizziness. As midnight approaches, the garden settles into its deepest quiet. The workers complete their night tasks and retire to their quarters, leaving only the essential sounds of water and wind. The oil lamps are trimmed to burn low through the night, their flames protected from the breeze by glass chimneys that cast steady pools of warm light along the main paths. Let the mysterious fragrances of the night garden surround you. Feel the ancient magic of flowers opening in darkness, releasing their secret perfumes into the cool desert air. Chapter 8: Dawn's Return. The eternal cycle as the first hint of dawn touches the eastern horizon. The perfume garden begins to stir with the quiet anticipation of a new day. The cycle that began yesterday morning will begin again, but each day brings its own subtle variations, different fragrances in the air, different stages of plant growth, different qualities of light and shadow. You find yourself floating once again above the garden as the sky lightens from deep purple to soft pink. The stars fade one by one, giving way to the gentle glow of pre-dawn light. The desert air is at its coolest now, perfect for the delicate morning work that will soon begin. Dew has formed on the leaves and flowers, each drop a tiny prism catching and reflecting the growing light. Kimwaset emerges from his dwelling as he did yesterday, but this morning he carries a different vessel, a special container made of silver and decorated with hieroglyphs describing the sacred nature of its contents. Today's harvest will include some of the precious resin he collected in the sacred grove during the night, and special protocols must be followed for handling such divine gifts. The sound of the garden awakening is soft and gradual, the gentle splash of workers washing their hands and faces in the stone basins, the rustle of linen garments as people move through the morning routines, the soft murmur of voices greeting the new day. The irrigation channels continue their eternal song, the water sounding somehow fresher and more musical in the cool morning air. As the sun rises, painting the eastern sky in shades of gold and rose, the garden reveals the changes that occurred during the night. New resin tears have formed on the frankincense trees, their surfaces still soft and malleable from the cool night air. Jasmine flowers that opened in the darkness now hang heavy with dew, their white petals glowing like stars against the dark green leaves. In the herb beds, night-blooming flowers are beginning to close their petals, their nocturnal duty complete. But other flowers are preparing to open with the sun's warmth, morning glories unfurling their purple trumpets, lotus blossoms beginning to stir in the irrigation pools. The garden breathes with the rhythm of day and night, each plant responding to its own inner clock and the ancient cycles of light and darkness. The distillation that began last night is nearing completion. Nebut carefully extinguishes the flame beneath the apparatus and begins the delicate process of collecting the precious oil that has accumulated during the long night. The oil is nearly colorless but intensely fragrant, each drop containing the concentrated essence of hundreds of flower petals. This oil will be used sparingly, a few drops sufficient to perfume an entire batch of incense. As the morning progresses, you observe the seamless continuation of the ancient routines. New resins are collected from the trees, their golden tears carefully sorted and graded. Fresh flowers are gathered at the moment of perfect bloom, their petals destined for the grinding mortar and distillation apparatus. Herbs are harvested with precision timing, each plant picked when its aromatic oils are at their peak concentration. The work continues with the same meditative pace as the day before, but you begin to understand that this is not mere repetition, it is participation in something eternal and sacred. Each day's harvest is unique, each batch of perfume slightly different from all others. The perfumers are not factory workers, but artists and priests, their craft requiring not just technical skill, but spiritual sensitivity and deep connection to the natural world. As the sun climbs higher and the day grows warm, you feel yourself beginning to float upward, rising slowly above the garden like incense smoke, carrying prayers to heaven. The sight below becomes more distant, but no less beautiful. The geometric patterns of the garden beds, the flowing lines of the irrigation channels, the small figures of the workers moving with ancient purpose through their fragrant paradise. The sound of the garden fades gradually as you rise, the babble of water becoming a gentle whisper, the voices of the workers merging into a soft murmur, the rustle of leaves blending into the eternal song of wind through the desert. But the fragrances remain with you, carried on the air like memories of paradise. You carry with you the wisdom of the ancient perfumers, the understanding that true beauty comes from patience, and reverence that the greatest treasures are often the result of countless small acts of care and attention. The garden has taught you that work can be prayer, that creation can be worship, and that the simplest materials can be transformed into something divine through the application of skill, patience, and love. Feel yourself rising gently above the perfume garden, carrying with you the peace and wisdom of ancient Nubia. Let the fragrances of frankincense and myrrh, jasmine and rose accompany you into peaceful dreams. Epilogue: the eternal garden, as your spirit hovers in the space between sleep and waking, between ancient Nubia and the present moment. You realize that the perfume garden exists not just in history, but in the eternal realm of human aspiration and divine beauty. The garden of Chemwaset and Nebet lives on wherever people gather aromatic plants, wherever skilled hands transform raw materials into something beautiful, wherever the boundary between craft and art, between work and worship, dissolves in the heat of creative passion. You breathe deeply and your lungs fill not just with ordinary air, but with the accumulated fragrances of centuries. The frankincense that blessed ancient temples, the myrrh that anointed kings and queens, the jasmine that perfumed wedding chambers, the rose petals that carpeted the paths of lovers. These scents have been humanity's companions through joy and sorrow, celebration and mourning, the sacred and the profane. The techniques of the ancient perfumers live on in modified forms, in the perfume houses of grass, in the incense workshops of Japan, in the rose gardens of Bulgaria, in the sandalwood groves of India. The tools may have changed, the methods refined, but the essential mystery remains the same: the transformation of the gifts of earth and sun and rain into something that touches the soul and lifts the spirit toward the divine. In your dreams tonight, you may find yourself walking the moonlit paths of the Nubian garden, breathing air thick with jasmine and frankincense. You may see Kamwaset at his work, his weathered hands sorting golden tears of resin by lamplight. You may hear Nebet humming the ancient songs as she grinds rose petals to powder, her voice blending with the eternal music of flowing water and rustling leaves. The garden offers its gifts to all who approach with reverence and patience. It teaches that beauty is not an accident, but the result of careful tending. That fragrance is more than pleasant scent, but a language that speaks directly to the soul, that the simplest flower can contain more magic than the most elaborate artifice. As sleep takes you gently in its embrace, let the wisdom of the ancient perfumers flow through your dreams. Let their patience become your patience, their reverence your reverence, their understanding that all true work is sacred work. Tomorrow when you wake, you may find that the world around you smells a little sweeter than the ordinary fragrances of daily life. The scent of morning coffee, the perfume of spring flowers, the aroma of bread baking, carry with them echoes of the divine garden where all fragrance began. Sleep now in the perfumed embrace of ancient wisdom. Dream of golden resin tears and jasmine flowers opening in the darkness. Let the eternal garden of the perfumers cradle you in peace, its fragrances carrying you gently into the realm of restorative sleep and healing dreams. Rest now in the garden of eternal fragrance, where every breath is a prayer and every scent a blessing. May your dreams be as sweet as frankincense, as precious as myrrh, and as beautiful as jasmine blooming in the desert night. Sweet dreams, dear traveler. May you wake refreshed and renewed, carrying with you the aromatic blessings of the ancient Nubian perfume gardens and the timeless wisdom of those who transform earth's gifts into glimpses of heaven.